Hey everyone, welcome back to this channel. This is a new installment of Revolutions, the ongoing diary of my spins. I hope you're well. The end of the year is nigh, so Christmas will be here sooner than anybody anticipated, which happens every year. I won't be making too many more of these videos until the new year, I think, because I'll be in Europe soon, so in any case, I'll I won't be able to do what I'm doing here. Um, but anyway, for today, I have a mixture of classical, ambient, electronic, jazz, some other goodies, some world music. And today is Sunday, and I always start on Sunday with classical music, and I want to spotlight this wonderful World Record Club release. This is Michael Rabin with Mosaics, which is a collection of violin and piano duets, ranging from Chopin, Scriabin, Debussy, Ravel, Elgar, Prokofiev. They're just little pieces, very impressionistic, very romantic sounding. So Michael Rabin is a very gifted violinist. He started his career, his debut, it says there, he debuted with the New York Philharmonic in 1950, just to give you a timeline. And look at this wonderful artwork. Again, World Record Club. This is not a very common release, but it's nice to, spotlight. I love this. This is beautiful. And one of my viewers just talked to me about Scriabin about 2 days ago, and just it happens that there's a Scriabin piece there, but it's just by accident. I also played another World Record Club release. Look at this beautiful sleeve. Weben, Penderecki, and Lutoslavski. So this is the LaSalle string quartets, playing some very, angular, very sort of abstract, avant-garde kind of. This is not your string quartet Schubert, like where everything is so pleasant and so. Puts you in the mood. This one is really cerebral and very deep. But if you like avant-garde contemporary music, this would be a very nice addition to your collection. And finally, the last one that I'm going to show you is this wonderful. That's a classic kind of piece, the Archduke Trio. Beethoven with the great Pablo Casals on cello. Just amazing piece of music. If you don't know the Archduke Trio, it's kind of a classic of the Beethoven, and it's instantly memorable. You hear it, you hear that opening melody, and you remember forever, which is just wonderful when you think of classical music. Last week I was showing one album by this wonderful artist, Emao Tsege Mariam Jibru, Ethiopian nun, who's a sort of, Philip Glass of, if Philip Glass lived in Ethiopia and enrolled in religious orders, but this is just gorgeous. It really is to die for. And how is this artwork as well? It is just truly wonderful. This record and the record I showed last week are both reissues on Mississippi Records, and I urge you to check those out. It's not, as I said last week, it's not Ethio jazz by any stretch of the imagination. It has an distinct Ethiopian flavor on the piano, in the recycling of the folk song, but effectively, fundamentally, it's the bridge between Debussy and Philip Glass and Mulatto. You know, that's just wonderful music. Oh my god! This is a record that my good friend Chris Cole sent to me years ago, and oh, what an amazing piece of music! Kind of related. This is music from Ethiopian Somalia, Jamila songs from a Somali city. Now this has a very has a very distinct Ethio jazz flavor. It's very hard to define this kind of music. Obviously, it's not Ethio jazz once more, but it is like local folk music, but yes, with a twist, we'll say. Very, very lovely piece of music. Then I pulled out this record that I hadn't played forever and ever, and we're talking about Rebop by Anthony Rebop Kwakuba, who's a percussionist. I can't remember which country he's originally from. In any case, he played on Welcome to the Canteen with Traffic, and he very good friends with Steve Winwood, who plays on this. There's a cast of musicians from bass, organ, piano, guitar, flute, baritone, sax, trumpet. So you can get the idea. This is kind of a jazz fusion, jazz funk, funky fusion kind of album, and I put it on turntable very curiously because it's, when you've got that many records, sometimes you just pull out records, go, I've got this. Wow, that's cool. What does it sound like? And it's wonderful. Really, it's a really killer. Yeah, it's a funky little record. I mean, you'd forget about it because it would slip between the cracks. But from 1972 on Island Records, and it's an OG as well. Then last night, I felt like a little bit of John Martin. Solidaire is probably the go-to John Martin, but the album they released just after Solidaire, Inside Out, is to me another masterpiece. It's an absolutely dynamite record. It retains this kind of folk jazz spirit that you have on Solidaire. The difficulty with this one is that he's probably drunk as he's recording these, and you can't understand a word he's saying. It's more like he's got this kind of nasal. I'm not doing a good impression. I feel like I'm disrespecting the man. But in any case, he even though you can't understand a word he says, it still commands a certain degree of wow. That's amazing music. Danny Thompson, Remy Kambaka, Steve Winwood. I was talking about Steve Winwood. There's a segue there for you. He's on both of these records. Chris Stewart, Chris Woods, Bobby Keys. Great record. Okay. Moving on. I pulled out a couple of my Felt records, and this is a classic, an absolute classic indie pop record. I mean, it doesn't get any more classic than this. This is Felt, obviously, with Lawrence, or half of Lawrence, and the other half of Lawrence is there. And I could do a face, but it never works. This came out on Creation Records in I can't remember which the year of this is. I want to say 1986, yeah. And it's an absolute masterpiece from start to finish, A reign of crystal spires, grey streets. I mean, if you like, Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, if you like Orange Juice, if you like Bell and Sebastian. Now, this guy, Lawrence, was the absolute hero, idol of Stuart Murdoch from Bell and Sebastian. And I think Stuart Murdoch modeled himself after Lawrence 100%. Like if you read the biographies, which I have, you can feel that very much, very highly recommended. I'm going to talk about some jazz and some jazzy things. Um, this is a nice little jazz funk album. Yves Laferrière is the bass player in the Quebec prog band Contraction, and this is his solo record from 1978, I want to say. This is just dynamite. It's really, really funky album in a sort of like, funk meets pop, in the sort of like Placebo, Cortex kind of like mold. Just the keys on these, the Fender Rhodes, just, I think if you love Fender Rhodes, funky drums, and that kind of like Euro sensibility, you would love this, because, these are the kind of records that I made, largely, in Euro jazz, I think. Here's a record that I got recently. It was kind of a blind buy at the time. Tribal Dance by Henry Franklin. Got this probably like a month ago or something. Or like 3 weeks ago. It was on the wall of Plug 7, one of my favorite shops. And it's Real Gone Music, which just reissued this record. Obviously, Henry Franklin, well known if you are into black jazz, bass player. Who, the Skipper, for example, is a well-known record in the VC. I think people would really enjoy this. I don't know how easy it is to get, but the reissue seems to be sort of widely available. There's a tune on this called Cosmos Dwellers, 10 minutes, 37 seconds of pure spiritual jazz. Cosmos Dwellers. Come on, it says it all. This morning I was really enjoying the shit out of this. This is Paul Bley, Gary Peacock, and Barry Alshaw. So Paul Bley is on piano, obviously, electric piano, acoustic piano. Gary Peacock is on bass, and Barry Alshaw is on drums. And they make a noise. This is avant-garde jazz, free jazz of the highest order, recorded in Nemu no Sato at the Yamaha Music Festival in Japan on the 25th of July 1976, just a little bit before I was born. There we go. This record and I are the same age, just about, exactly. Wonderful artwork, wonderful like free playing, just very inventive, top notch, 1977 release. Here is a brand new Australian electronic album which I picked up a couple of days ago, and it is called Hypnotica by the Night Terrors. I don't know if that will show. The thing is, this is all this kind of like, now it's very library record-esque if you look at this foil. The guy's called Miles Brown. I've got one of his solo records. He's an Australian guy. I think he's from Tasmania originally. I'll show you Miles Brown. There we go. There's his... and he plays theremin, synth, programming, electronics, and Sarah Lim plays synth. The girls there. And what you get here is a very potent kind of John Carpenter-esque, Escape from New York, kind of like sound, very, very sort of high octane, but also kind of bittersweet and melodic, and I just love it. It just came out and I picked it up because, why not? It was not very expensive in local store, and I thought that was an interesting thing to pick up. I played Eros in Arabia by Richard Horowitz. This is what I would call a fourth world's tribal ambient kind of record. It has a lot of I always go back to John Hassel, but one has to say that the man was an absolute master at his craft, and everything that followed basically sounds like a derivation of John Hassel. I mean, not exactly. This is a beautiful record. This is the reissue. The original cover is somewhat different to this. But he plays the ney, which is sort of Arabian, a Persian flute, on this, and the atmosphere are very sort of oriental and mystical. You've got a spiritual quality. You've got vivid images of the desert when you listen to this. You can imagine landscapes, other worlds. It's brilliant. Here is a record that I am revisiting because I saw that it's going to be reissued very soon, and this is Sahib Shihab with the Danish radio jazz group. So Sahib Shihab, you can see here, plays the flute. Yes. What else does he play on this? He came to Copenhagen for the first time in autumn 1962, grew fond of the city and decided to stay on. So he lived in Copenhagen, and he played. That's a masterpiece of a record, really. And I think Sam Records are reissuing this. And this is the 2001 repress of this, which was at the time already really expensive. And the OG of this, I can't even imagine what an OG is worth. This is I think the very first time they reissued it's 2001, and Sam Records is going to be a great job reissuing it. I'm not going to pick it up, obviously, because I've got this, but I very highly recommend this. It's symphonic and modal, beautiful. It's just so dynamic as well. It's just so lively in the speakers. It's amazing. I picked this up fairly recently, super cheap, that's why. It's called Apart, and it's Teresa Mahino, the Japanese genius, who plays the trumpet, and we meet Reggie Workman, who plays the bass, and here's the band. So you've got Reggie Workman there on his double bass, Teresa Mahino, who plays the trumpet and the flugelhorn, and his brother Motohiko Hino on drums, and a whole lot of other. This is a killer jazz fusion record. Gosh, this is so deep. Gosh, it's a live album. It's just so full on. Like, they just go for it. It's mental. It's just a great album, and it was reissued on Love Records in, I don't know, I want to say a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago. And then this is from 1970 originally, and I was just in a shop that I really love, and they had a super cheap discounted copy. I thought, oh yeah, screw it. I bought a few records of my friend Anthony Camplone, who you know as Campo. All these records for sale, and I just bought all the next few ones that come from his Discogs store. I'll give him a plug here. I bought his copy of Vista by Marion Brand, it's a record I've wanted forever and ever, and you never really see copies or clean copies. This is a promo copy of all things, a white label. Now, I love this. It's again a really great example of soul jazz, spiritual jazz. You have Marion Brand, you've got Stanley Cowell on Fender Rhodes on this, you've got Anthony Davis on piano, Reggie Workman, oh, well, there you go, there's a connection between the last record and this record. He's on bass, Jimmy Hopp's on drums, just, the cover of Visions by Stevie Wonder, I can take it or leave it, but the rest is just high-grade spiritual jazz. From 1975. I bought Campo's copy of The Black Ark. which is a numbered reissue on Bow Records, and it's from 2006 or 2007. It's got this lovely textured cover. I think you probably could see if I come close, but you can see that's kind of like, unknown pleasure-esque, Joy Division. This is a free jazz masterpiece. Again, I mean, I'm throwing the word masterpiece, but really this is it's a killer record. And again, like, they're not records you see very often. And for me, I mean, I probably have all the jazz that I ever want to have, but then there's the odd record which you think, oh, I have to have this, and this is one of them. And I know I would like. It's a free. I mean, it's not for the faint-hearted, I will say, because this, is a lot of screeching and very sort of deep, kind of, horn playing there. But if you're not afraid of that, then go for it. This also comes from the Campo collection, Almanac, a lovely modal jazz record with Benny Maupin, Cecil McBee, Mick Knock, and Eddie Marshall. Just a lovely collaboration, really. And track 2, Symbiosis, is a super duper spiritual jazz number, really amazing. 1977 on Improvising Artists. And finally, the last Campo album I've got here was his copy of Like Someone in Love. I think it's a very early press on Blue Notes of this sort of obscure classic, I would say. I mean, I think it's the same session as I think Night in Tunisia. I think they're the offcuts of that, or I might be wrong. Somebody might correct me, but it's just as good in some ways. You have Lee Morgan, Wayne Shorter, Bobby Timmons, Jimmy Merritt, and Art Blakey. I mean, it's a super lineup, yeah. And it's on Liberty. It's a Liberty Press, so I don't know. The experts in the Blue Note field will, jump and assault me. I'm going to talk about electronic music, but I'll do a little bridge with jazz. Don Cherry and Jean Schwartz, who was interviewed by Stunty on the recently. That's a very interesting interview. I suggest you go on Stunty's channel and have a look. This was that was never released before. It's from 1977. But was re-released last year on the Transversal Disc, which is a French label, and they basically, get tapes from the National Institute of Archives and just reissue them. They've done this for Pharoah Sanders and Ahmad Jamal and amongst others. This I really love. I think it's a very well finished record. It's totally needs to be reissued. The just a juxtaposition of that sort of mournful trumpet playing, but also very forward thinking, and the electronics that Jean Schwartz layers on top. It's just very effective, in my opinion. It's a very pleasant record. You can just really get immersed in it, and it's got Michel Portal on saxophone, and the great Nana Vasconcelos on percussion, which you can see here. What a super duper performance. I very highly recommend it. Not quite in the same vein, but another French sort of record, Teddy Lazary with Seven Stones, which has got exactly the same sleeve as the Jacques Lussier Pulsion. This is a lovely electronic record, kind of bittersweet and melodic. Just a lovely piece of, just a great piece of. It's almost library music. I would call this library music, without being funny. it has that kind of vibe to it, with tight drums and just beautiful kind of Tangerine Dream-esque melodies with a little bit of, it's very Berlin school, but at the same time it has a very French flavor to it, 70s French progressive music, in a sort of like, Richard Pinas kind of way, but way more melodic. I mean, yeah, it's a lovely, lovely record. Beautiful. And Teddy Lazarus plays just about everything. Everything. From keyboards to bass to percussion, everything. Here is another Canadian or Quebec record. I was talking about Yves Lafayette, is John Bréjean, which I played this week. Et le troisième jour, and the third day. The name of the band isn't very clear to see. This is Vincent Dion and Michel Georges Bréjean, and that's the name of the album there. Et le troisième jour. Track 2 there, L'éveil du lieu, is where it's at really. It's just cosmic, progressive. If you like Popol Vuh and Ashra Temple and bands like that, you would be very, very well rewarded with this. This is from 1976, I think. Yes, Quebec. I played this wonderful double album by the Bitchin' Bahas. Again, I was talking about Klaus Schulze and Tangerine Dream and Popol Vuh. This is completely in the same mold. Now, this is an album a bit foggy as to when this exactly came. I think it's 2013. Here is the insert, which is very beautiful. 2014 on Drag City, and it's got four sides of like really drony, abstract, ambient, kosmische Musik. It's wonderful. A French classic. It's the great Large Free, their first album. Gilbert Hartmann is also another legend of the French underground. And this is a wah-wah reissue. You can tell how shiny this is. I've never really seen an original of this, but I think maybe I would grab it because I love it that much. This is it's a mix of electronic music, and I'm gonna go back to Hell Done again. Richard Pinas, even Teddy Lazarus in some ways, in some respect, but it's got this beautiful sax on top. The first song with the sax is just completely hypnotic. Warino Baril, which is the very, very first song there, is, and it's all composed and arranged by Niall Free. But who plays the sax? Philippe Bollier on sax, 1973. Highly recommended, Niall Free. Here is a sort of like ambient, Berlin School, Klaus Schulze-esque, Popol Vuh-esque record from Australia. It's called Picture Music. Now this came out in 1987, and these dudes were basically from Brisbane and released this music on tape. And this was reissued in 2021 by Left Ear Record. And so if you like that kind of ambient, abstract, experimental, a wonderful record. Finally, a couple more records here. This great record, which also come from Quebec, Pascal Enguerrand, the Harmonie Universelle, which has got more of a new age feel. This is from 1980, and just really, new age is often seen as a kind of a dirty word, but this is just a really lovely atmospheric record. I've got both of his records, and I think this one is, has a very sort of like very earlier. It's of its time, but nonetheless retain a sort of forward-thinking electronic music sort of touch. And the last record I'm going to show you for now is a classic, Harmonia Deluxe. Obviously Harmonia, the German trio of Michael Rotter, Hans Joachim Rodelius and Dieter Möbius. So half of Neu and half of Cluster. And that's my favorite record by Harmonia, and I think this would be a top 10 record for me for krautrock, full stop. It's just amazing. I love the track Monza, which is the first track on side 2. Yeah, lovely record. Finish with that. I hope you enjoy this installment. Take care. Leave me some comments if you can be bothered. Love you all. Cheers.